let me take just a minute and introduce our partners and welcome everybody to the Roundtable. This has been a little bit of putting together and thinking about who we wanted to invite to the Roundtable, and our mission committee is so thankful for our partners who are with us today. I'm Bridget Beckley, the Director of Formation and Mission here at FHPC. And we've got 5 of our partners joining us, and just let me go around the table and introduce them to you. Our newest partner, the Bethlehem Food Pantry, has been serving food insecurity needs in El Cajon for several years as a ministry of Foothills United Methodist Church. And we at Fletcher Hills are delighted to partner with them with volunteers and financial support and food donations. And around the table today, we've got Teresa Erb and Susan Naslund, volunteer coordinator and managers at the pantry. Next, our international partner, Children of the Nations, is represented today by Uday Ouche. And Uday is our local rep from COTN. And with them, we support over 100 children in an after-school program in the village of Bellevue in Haiti. And since FHPC initiated a partnership in Haiti back in 2013, we learned that we were not very well equipped to manage work from afar. And COTN now blesses us with their local resources and years of experience of educating and supporting children in some of the roughest places on earth. And we're delighted to have them as our partner in Haiti, and hopefully someday soon we will be able to return to Haiti and meet the children who live in Bellevue. Next, we have Safe Harbors Network, and this organization came to our attention as thousands of Haitians began arriving in San Diego in 2015. And as the Christ Ministry Center stepped up to meet that need, FHPC provided some financial support and sponsored lodging, and also some needed repairs in their facility. And Safe Harbors has now been helping us at FHPC evaluate opportunities to provide lodging to an asylum-seeking family on our own church campus. And Kent Rayson is their housing coordinator, and he is at the table with us today. Lastly, 2 of our partners that we've shared probably the most history with, and that's Baja Presbyterian Ministries and New Day Urban Ministries. Baja serves the needs of the Presbyterians in Baja as they plant new churches and support congregations there. And New Day Urban Ministries works mostly with homeless and folks who are recently released from prison here in San Diego. We have had FHPC parishioners serve on the boards of both of these organizations, and we have currently volunteers who volunteer their time and talents, as well at Baja Presbyterian Missions and New Day Urban Ministries. Jim Hancock, a longtime member of FHPC, represents Baja Presbyterian Missions today, and Raul Palomino, who is the director of New Day Urban Ministries, is here with us on the panel. So that was a bit of a mouthful, but I think we've gotten around the table, and we will move on then with our conversation. And again, a big shout out and thank you to all of our partners for joining us and to partner with us as we try to serve the needs of our community. So the first question that we have that we would like to address is, what kind of trends were our mission partners seeing in their ministry? And this is pre-COVID, so there's been a lot that's changed in our communities over the last couple of years. And the first question we want to start with is, in your ministry, what trends have you observed in the populations you serve? And this particular question is going first to Jim with Baja Presbyterian Missions. And then after Jim has a chance to say a few words, then our other partners will jump in and give you their perspectives as well. Jim?
Okay, well, thank you much. Just as a little bit of a background, we started Baja Presbyterian Missions back in 1962. So we've been at it for 58 years. And our primary mission is to build and support churches in Baja California through the Mexican Presbytery down there. The Mexican church in Mexico operates much like the Presbyterian church does in the United States, whereas they have their headquarters located in Mexico City. They have various synods, and then they have presbyteries. We work with the Presbytery of the Northwest, which covers all of Baja California, basically from the tip of Cabo San Lucas all the way out to Rio de Colorado, which is east past Mexicali and beyond. So at any rate, we cover a huge territory down there. We've been able to establish about 30 Mexican Presbyterian churches and missions throughout Mexico, throughout Baja, I should say, in the last 58 years. These churches, like I said, are under the Presbytery of the Northwest, and we have just a really one-on-one good working relationship with them. 2019 and the early 2020 was just a wonderful year for us in building new churches. One of the greatest things that happened is that the Korean Presbytery Church established 3 churches down in the Tijuana area with the intent that they would build them, staff them, and maintain them for several years. It's been more like about 10 years, and then eventually turn them over to the Mexican Baja Presbytery, which they did in, 2 years ago in 2018. So then in 2019, we started working with those churches, which were in great disrepair and really needed a lot of building up and cleanup and everything. So we supported a lot of funds in supporting them to build a new roof on one of the churches, get floors established, and just get the churches really cleaned up. They already had some members of the congregation. Some had maybe as many as about 50, and others were probably about 20 or something like that. But through the years, we've noticed, through this last year, I should say, we've noticed a number of other people attending, and these churches are getting bigger, and the word of Christ is just spreading like wildfire throughout Baja California. So 2019, 2020 have just been terrific years. And you talk about trends, and the trends we see is that building was really much a trend that we see of building ministries down there. And it was going very, very well until 2020 hit, and we hit COVID. But that's another topic that we're going to talk about a little bit later. So at any rate, we sponsored a mission day trip, which we do almost every year. And last year we visited our 3 Korean churches that were just donated to the Presbytery. So I'll stop at that. I think that's enough for that, because our COVID times are extremely difficult at this point.
Great. Thank you, Jim. One of our other partners, jump on in.
Well, if you guys don't mind, I'll start breaking the ice. Oh, my name is Raul Palomino. I'm the director of New Day Urban Ministries, previously known as Presbyterian Urban Ministries. We've been doing, helping out the urban poor, the homeless, and also those coming out of prison for the last 52 years, pretty close to Baja Ministries, 1968. That's when the Presbytery became the Presbytery in San Diego. And I think the trend that I've seen myself, I've been the director now for 5.5 years. And I will say the trend that I always see, regardless of anything else, time, needs, we had times where the economy was booming and then the economy was down in the last 5.5 years. And now we have COVID. And what I've seen, the trend that I've seen is that there is always people in need, regardless of what season we're living. There is need for the essential items. There's need for those coming out of prison that are coming without nothing, without anything, no IDs, no birth certificates, no place to stay, so they become homeless. I see the trend of people coming from other states and other places around our country that are either going through severe weathers, as we saw with Katrina, and saw with other natural or natural disasters and different events that happen. So I've seen that same trend. I see that same need. And now during this time of COVID, I see that same need, but it's somehow shifting, where I see the need now going for not those who were already homeless, but now it's going for those in our communities who are either just facing unemployment and, of course, facing the fact that, they need to stay at home. So I think that on my end, that's the trend that I've seen as always switching and shifting, but it's always towards those essential needs that we often are not seeing being provided by the government institutions. They provide more the macro needs, not the micro. And then when it comes to, the clothes, the hygiene products, the transportation, the IDs, the birth certificates, that's the niche where we have come in, and we had been pretty much the only place now that does birth certificates from anywhere in the USA or any other possession. We helped today alone 6 people that were from different parts of the country. 2 people were born on a Navy station. They were Navy stationed when they were born with their families in Japan. So we're doing that too. So in a nutshell, I see those trends, and I see those trends too being kind of constant, that not changing much.
Thank you, Raul.
You're welcome.
So, my name is Udea Huche, and I'm the community representative for Children of the Nations. We work with children in 5 countries, 3 countries in Africa, Malawi, Uganda, Sierra Leone, and then we work in the Caribbean, in the Dominican Republic and Haiti. This is our 25th anniversary. It was supposed to be a huge year for us, and unfortunately, we will be having a virtual celebration. Some of the trends that we are seeing is the need for technology, especially, for children. We definitely are seeing the need for technology for the kids all over the world. Being able to get Wi-Fi and access to information technology is extremely important. We have been working on things like providing solar equipment we just provided a container with that provides solar power for our children in Uganda, so that they're able to study at night, because before this it was very difficult, and many of the countries we work in don't have electricity 24 hours a day. We're also seeing needs to address the whole child, which is part of our principles at COTN. We work both on physical care, social and emotional support, especially for kids who have experienced a lot of trauma. We also provide education and, physical, like food and things like that, but addressing the whole child and trying to prevent things like teen pregnancy and stuff, which, has been on the rise in a lot of places. But those are some of the trends that, pre-COVID that we've been working with.
Great, thank you, Uday.
I'm Kent Rays with the Safe Harbors Network. I did not join Christ Ministry Center or Safe Harbors until July of 2018. And as Bridget mentioned, Christ Ministry Center was working with the Haitians for many years before that. And when I joined them, most of the asylum seekers that were at Christ were Haitian and Spanish speaking, a few others. But in July, Pastor Bill Jenkins was looking at forming a network, because at that time we were pretty much getting asylum seekers in. They would be with us for 2 or 3 weeks, sometimes longer than that, and we'd make arrangements that they would then go wherever they were planning on going. In some cases, they stayed in San Diego, and then we provided longer-term care. But July, we started standing up a network, and we started recruiting host families that were hosting asylum seekers in their house. And we were also recruiting churches. And at that time, like I said, we were looking at, okay, can you sign up for 2 to 3 weeks? And then as more restrictions came in, it became 2 to 3 months. And now, under current situations, most people can't get a work permit for 12 to 18 months. So it makes it very difficult for them to get out on their own. In November of 2018, so I had only been there a few months working with them, just before the 2018 elections, somebody decided, well, we will open up the detention centers and start putting hundreds of people on the streets every night and see what the population thinks about all these homeless people running around their city. Well, Safe Harbors and other organizations started pulling people off the streets as fast as we could and housing them. So that situation didn't grow as big as they thought it was going to. But that did overcrowd Christ Ministry Center and put a big stress on everybody. And that lasted for a close to a couple of weeks, 1 week at Christ, and then we'd start moving it to larger locations where they could house more people and serve more people. As 2019 rolled around, the borders started getting closed down more and more. And so our intake started dropping off slightly, but I don't know if too many people know, but the fire marshal also stepped in and said, Christ Ministry Center, you can't, because we had 80 to 100 people sleeping at the church.
Wow.
And they said, you can't do that.
Huh.
And they got very involved in it. And they actually gave Christ Ministry Center an ultimatum. You either turn this into a shelter and get all the other ministries that you do out of the building, or you allow those ministries to happen in your building and you don't have a shelter. And so as it turned out, we did manage to have one of the parsonages were turned into a welcome home, and we house up to 4 families in there. We can get 16 people into that home. And then I still work at trying to find other homes for people and other churches. And that's where FHPC came along. They said, well, we're sort of interested in doing something similar to what the Good Shepherd Ministry Center, which Foothills supports, what they do. And so we became in conversation with them. To let you know what's going on, sort of right. Oh, we've joined with International Rescue Committee also, and they provide case management to most of our asylum seekers. So we provide the shelter, we work at getting the shelter and making sure food and all that, and the IRC provides case management and helping them with lawyers and paperwork and getting all that done. That took a little bit of load off of our one main man, Jimmy, who was doing it all.
That's a huge help. Huge.
Yes.
Yep.
That was.
All right.
So, and let me say though that our population is still Haitian and Spanish. Oh, and Jimmy was getting 2 people out of detention yesterday. So we are still having new people come in, and we are still looking for homes or churches. But the population has changed. We have a couple of Chinese-speaking families. We have a half a dozen or so of Russian-speaking, and I say Russian-speaking, don't call them Russian because they don't like Russians. They're usually Ukraine, Belarus, and other countries. So you don't call them, they're Russian-speaking. So that's sort of where we're at right now. It's a lot slower on intake, but it's still happening.
Great. Thank you, Kent. And the food pantry. Teresa or Susan?
I'll speak to the first question. First of all, I just want to say how grateful we are to be included with Fletcher Hills Presbyterian Church. We are so happy to be partners with you and are just really thankful for you. So I want you to know that, and to be with amongst the other ministries that are just sound amazing that you support. So Teresa and I are members at Foothills United Methodist Church in La Mesa. And a few years ago, we were given the opportunity to take over another church, the First United Methodist Church of El Cajon. They closed that church, the larger body, and asked if we would take it on and make it a ministry center. And so that's what our church has done. And the Bethlehem Food Pantry is part of that ministry center. The pantry's been there for about 20 years. But when the merger happened, we were asked to come in and revamp it, reevaluate it, renovate it, and improve it. And we've done that. And we have seen over the last 2.5 years, like Raul said, you know, a steady increase of people. This need for food is not going away. But it wasn't an overwhelming increase, just a steady increase. But something we noticed in that 2.5 years was a need not just for food, but our guests are looking for information about nutrition, information about how to cook the foods that we give them. We had been interviewing them and having surveys and trying to find out what kinds of foods they needed and wanted. And we found that this community who comes to get the food interacts with each other. They're looking for society together, community together. It's not just about coming to get the food. They want to be together. They want to learn together, and they want to be whole together. They don't want to just come for a handout. They want to lift themselves out of this. So I think that was a really interesting thing that we learned just in this short amount of time, was that that they want more than just a handout. And so that's where we were trying to gear our services before COVID.
Great, thank you, Susan. Which is a great lead into the next question as to what hath COVID wrought? You know, this pandemic has changed so much about how we look at ourselves, how we operate in so many aspects of life. So this question is going first to the food pantry. What has COVID done to your organization and your ministry?
I'll answer that part of the question. Our ministry has exploded. We went from serving 90 to 100 families a week until right now we are serving consistently about 300 families a week.
Wow.
So luckily, we had already planned to move to the hall across the street from where the food pantry was, and redesigned it and everything. And thank goodness we did, because we could never have survived where we were before. So it's been wonderful. Some of the questions you asked, funding losses. Actually, people are so generous. It has been wonderful. In terms of monetary donations, we've been very, very fortunate. Right now, we are receiving free food from Feeding San Diego. So most of our food we get from them. Plus, we serve commodities from San Diego Food Bank once a month as well. However, we don't know how long that's going to last. So we are saving that money when we know that in the future we will be needing it to provide food. And food, as you know from your own shopping, is hard to get right now. I went just today to Smart and Final, and I was looking for extra cans of green beans just so we had them on hand. And my Smart and Final by my home did not have green beans. So we have enough for now. And it's amazing how the Lord always provides for us what we need, and I'm sure we'll have them when we need them. But that's a challenge for us is finding food. It's been a great blessing that Feeding San Diego has stepped up so much and is giving us so much food. They give us enough for 240 families every week. And so that's non-perishable foods and produce as well. And then we make up the difference by the donations that we receive from our church members, your church members, other churches around the area. And as I said, purchasing our own food through the donations that we received. Volunteers has gone down dramatically. And that's because it's not as safe for older individuals to be with us. And we understand that. And our first priority is for them to be safe. But we need more volunteers, especially since our numbers have increased so much. So yes, we have noticed that. Again, knock on wood, we seem to get by with whatever we need at the time, and it's working. We have changed from, we were doing a market style before COVID, and now we pre-pack all the bags and try to do as least contact as possible with them. So we have drive up and walk up as well. We try to do as much drive up as possible. But we have found that especially like on weeks when we do the commodities, the line goes around Grant Street, down Johnson, and across Washington. So there is a great need out there in the community. Adjustments. Susan and I say we make adjustments every week.
I think Teresa froze.
I think she did.
But I think she was going to tell you that we always make adjustments, which is perfect.
And a real-time adjustment we do make.
We're very flexible that way.
And this is why we make a good team as well, because when one person needs to go in for the other person, we just do it. So we're very grateful.
That's wonderful. Thanks to both of you for answering that question. Who's up next? Who wants to take that one on? What hath COVID wrought?
Well, for safe harbors, it's given us a little bit more trouble trying to convince people to take somebody into their home, or how things go like that. In most cases, though, it's just slowed down the process. We do a 14-day screen before we place anybody anywhere. We do a 14-day, make sure that once they come out of detention, that they could be isolated at the welcome home or somewhere else. There's a couple of organizations that will actually, shelter organizations that will take them for a period of time and shelter them for a period of time. And then we take them and then place them in a better location. But that's the only drawback we've had.
I will tell you, we love our Safe Harbors family.
Oh,
we have Julia and their family. Oh my gosh, we love them so much.
Yes, I know that.
We're so thankful for them.
Yeah, part of ours is we try to get people to move on, and I mentioned it takes 12 to 18 weeks, or months, a lot of times for anybody to get on their feet nowadays because they can't get work permits and all that. Good Shepherd and some of our other locations, once they have a family there, and we say, well, IRC, if they're working with IRC, they definitely like to move them on. And the churches and the homes, they won't give them up. They say no.
They're ours.
Yeah. Which is fine with me because I don't have to keep looking for a new location.
Good point, yes. Thanks, Kent.
I would like to share a little bit of what we've done. I think what COVID had brought in has brought in more unity, has strengthened us in our faith, had made us to be more prayerful onto the things that we do. And even though we've seen changes, and I resonate with everybody else, trying to adapt, learn, and apply, I will say. And it's really adapting to the times that we're living. At the same time, to learn the best practice. We were closed for a month and a half. but mainly to rearrange, redo everything that we do, and do different procedures to be safe, not only for ourselves as the staff. I have 3 other members in my staff, plus we have about 50 volunteers that the amount of volunteers has diminished to close to half. I mean, we have like 25. And just by seeing those changes, we were adapting, we were learning, applying, and the main thing, we were praying. We were saying, God, bring and send volunteers. Well, I will tell you this, that we've been overwhelmed with volunteers. We've been overwhelmed by young people coming our way saying, we used to go to Ladle, which is downtown, is one of our sister churches in downtown from First Press. And they says, well, they're closed right now. Do you have anything for us? So they have come here like once or twice a week. We have people that were coming out of prison that we had helped them through their halfway house in the past. But now they're housed and they have employment, but now they're not working and they're getting unemployment. And they have called us and said, can we go and help? Do you need any help? So I will say this, that I can see God's hand into the things that are happening. But the most important thing is that we continue to rely on Him, regardless of where we're living or what we're doing. And it's just, I mean, I'll give you some of the things that I've seen. We lost over 45% of our income in giving. It has gone down 45%. We had 2 events, 2 main events. We had Golf for Good. We were going into our 14th year. And then we were going into the 3rd year for Chopped at Church. It's a cooking event that actually exalts people's needs. And then we were coming with a book of recipes, because we help, I don't know how many people you guys heard about New Day Urban Ministries and before, Presbyterian Urban Ministries, but we actually help close to 10,000 families per year. And we're talking about the exponential of really affecting the lives of almost 27,000 people every year. Well as everybody else, that has gone down because the homeless population are in place at the convention center, most of them. And of course, the people that used to come out of prison, now they they put them like on hold, and now they're releasing them back again. And it has to do with COVID as well. We have changed the way we do business to be safe for everyone. We used to do it first come, first serve basis. Now we do it by appointment only. We have an online intake software in our website, a new website. And now we started a month and a half ago doing that. And it has grown from 10 to 15 people a day to about 18 to 20 now every day, 5 days a week. And one more time, I resonate with everybody else. And I wanted to thank, Fletcher Hills one more time for your ongoing support, the volunteers that do come from there. Actually, we have Tom Diamond here today. Anyway, it's just a blessing.
Thanks, Raul. So Uday or Jim?
I'll go ahead and talk about it. There's 2 things that I'm simply amazed at, and I'll start with the positive. And that is, and I go back to what Teresa said about the food pantry. Our donations haven't stopped. All of our member churches and those that have sponsored us and individuals, they still keep rolling in without any cuts in funding. That amazes me, because I know churches in the United States are suffering immensely. Many of them are, as a matter of fact, because people aren't attending in person and donations are going down at the church level. So that I'm truly amazed at. On the negative side, what totally amazes me, that we live just a few miles from the border in San Diego. And yet when you turn on the news in San Diego, you hardly hear anything about Tijuana. You hardly hear anything about the conditions in Mexico, which are absolutely atrocious. And I want to continue talking about that. We were going along really great, like I said, until COVID hit. And then at the very beginning of COVID, we were talking to our pastor, Representative Robelio, who is pastor of one of our largest churches down in Tijuana. And I asked him, well, how things are in Mexico? And he said, oh, everything's going along just as usual. And I said, well, are people social distancing and staying away and that kind of thing? No, everything's the same. I thought, well, that's interesting. But so come to find out, Mexico was very, very slow in adopting regulations down there until it really hit them hard and they realized, uh-oh, we better start doing something. And the Mexican culture has a disadvantage because, I'd say a disadvantage, they're very friendly and family-oriented people. They're huggers. Every time you meet somebody from Mexico, they love to hug you. They love to have parties. They love to have family events. And because of their economic structure, a lot of them live with multiple family units. So staying away from people and socially distancing is very, very difficult just in their culture. I think when we hear about the difficulties we have in the United States, in South Bay, they're talking about it's really hit the Hispanics very hard. I think a lot of that has to do with the culture. They're just loving, generously kind people who don't like to be socially distanced and who likes to be up close. So that's just my perception of what's going on now. But in Mexico, especially in Tijuana, it's just horrible. Rebelio tells us that, I'll give you some of the statistics here. Then in his church, he has about 100 members. He has 13 families now with COVID. 3 members have already died of COVID, including, we talked about Haitians. One of the persons who died down there was a Haitian lady who came up here fleeing Haiti when everybody was coming north. As you recall, President Obama opened the borders and a lot of Haitians were fleeing very freely into the United States. And of course, Safe Harbors really stepped up to the plate in trying to take care of those people. Then out of the clear blue, President Obama stopped it. And a lot of people got trapped at the border. A lot of people are in Tijuana still today. Well, in other words, but they have really adapted well to the environment in Tijuana. They found jobs. They're very, very forthright in just being very friendly and blending into the culture and doing well. And one of these families joined Rebelio's church. Like I said, she just passed away last month of COVID, which was sad to see. Also in our Baja Presbytery, 4 pastors and 5 family members now have COVID. Let's see, I told you about that. And to date, like I don't know if I mentioned, 13 members in his congregation have COVID. 20 Mexican Presbyterian pastors across Mexico. That's just not in locally Tijuana, but Presbyterian pastors, 20 have died so far. And in Tijuana, 12 pastors from various denominations have died of COVID. So COVID's very severe down there. One of the big problems they had was when Mexico finally realized they had to do something, the government stepped in and made almost every business non-essential. So they said, no one's going to work. Well, we have a lot of government assistance, as it's in the news every day, to help those that are unemployed here to get unemployment and then government benefits. Mexico has nothing like that. Everybody in Mexico, mostly now unemployed, doesn't have any income or a very small income. And so the government doesn't step forward and provide anything. So we saw an immediate crisis where Rebelio was coming to us and said, if you could give us some emergency funds, we would really be glad to help out down there as much as we can. So now we're giving about $1,000 a month just in emergency relief so that he and the other churches can go out to their congregation, deliver meal packets. They've delivered several hundred so far to their members really in need, and those people that are in the far reaches of just can't get food. They don't have any opportunity to get out there. So he has really helped them a lot. There's another thing that people don't realize in Mexico, insurance doesn't pay for ambulance. So they have funded a number of ambulance trips to get sick patients to the hospitals. And then unfortunately, the other thing that's hit so many people down there, because there have been so many deaths, is that the people can't afford to bury or provide a proper burial for their family members. So the churches have stepped up with our emergency relief in providing memorial services and a proper burial for these people. And statistically in Tijuana, currently there's 4,442 positive cases reported, 1,174 deaths. If you do the math on that, that's a 26% death rate, 26%. In San Diego, as an example, our death rate is 1.8%. It's horrible down there. So when you think of, let's say you had 100 people in your congregation sitting down that are there and they have COVID, 26 of those will probably die. That's just an amazing feat. It's just totally overwhelming in my mind that the death rate can be so high, specifically in Baja California and in Tijuana. So we're just kind of on a wait and see, pray an awfully lot that COVID will get better, that there will be less cases in Mexico. The churches will eventually open up. Our smaller churches don't have any income at all now. One of the things that we do is provide pastor supplemental salaries to a number of churches down there that are not self-sufficient. And I really see that number going way up in the months ahead. We'll just have to deal with it when we can, but we just ask for your prayers. And if any churches can step up with a little emergency relief funds, that would be just really, really appreciated at this point. Thanks.
Thank you, Jim. Uday, would you like to take this on?
The way that we're seeing some of the issues that we're seeing in terms of funding loss and stuff is and how things have affected our ministry. One of our biggest issues is the fact that people can't go on venture teams. Most of our venture teams go anywhere between a spring break all the way through summer. And normally we have about 600 people who go to our different countries each year. So this year, because we went on lockdown so early in March, many people weren't able to go on the venture trips, and we had about 500 out of the 600 people who weren't able to go on trips. And looking into next year, that's also an issue that we're anticipating, that at least early in the year, we won't have a lot of people going on trips. How that affects COTN is a lot of the venture trips. For example, my trip this year, I went in February. We were able to set up computer labs and do certain things. So normally we bring stuff, and there are a lot of projects that are done when we go in country. And also a lot of churches donate items and donate project funds during that time. So that's a major funding loss we've already experienced this year with the cancellation. Also in terms of child sponsorship, so up till about this month, we weren't seeing very much of a change in our child sponsorship programs. But with things changing with unemployment in the US, most of our sponsors for our children are within the US. And with unemployment, we're beginning to get phone calls from people who can't continue with their sponsorship. You know, we also have, we've had a few furloughs of our staff and things like that that's affected us. In terms of volunteers in country, we haven't been able to have some of our volunteers volunteer on the programs. So those are some of the things that we're experiencing right now.
Great. Thanks, Uday. I think everybody got a chance on that question. And as we move on to the next question, I'm going to ask us to be very brief so we can catch up with and still have time for 2 more questions. So now, and say in the next 6 months or so, or maybe through the middle, into the middle of next year, what do you think about what's the best way that FHPC can support your efforts? And this question's coming to you, Kent, to answer first. But yeah, when you look out maybe not quite a year, what's the best partnership that we could offer to you?
Well, we've been in conversation about starting something up similar to what is Good Shepherd Ministry Center. And that would be great. In the meantime, while you're moving in that direction, in the meantime, we do have a number of clients who have possibility at staying at different locations, provided they receive funding. IRC's been able to get some funding for them. Christ Ministry or Safe Harbors through our donations have been able to get some money for them. I'm looking at an adopt a family program. And so if you can't host in your church or host in your house, if, you know, to help the family with funding to stay somewhere, and that would be great.
Okay, great. Next, who'd like to chime in on that one? How can we help in like the next little less than a year?
Can I go ahead and speak?
Yeah.
For the Bethlehem Food Pantry, I would say two things. One is just pray for us. Pray for the pantry will have food. Pray for our guests that they stay healthy and that we can feed them and see them each week. And also, if you have any volunteers at Fletcher Hills who would like to come down on either a Friday or a Saturday to help, let us know and we'll get them into the rotation of coming to help. That's our biggest need.
And that's someone who's under 65 still?
Preferably.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
I hear you.
For everyone's safety.
Thanks, Susan.
For us, I would, if you have praying circles within your church, what we would really be looking for is people to help pray for our staff, for the children. We have almost 5,000 children, for the communities they are in and their families. Pray especially for girls. This is a very vulnerable time for girls when it comes to teen pregnancy and stuff. So pray that they will stay in school, stay, connected to education and, take that route. We're really looking for sponsorship right now. So pray that people will sponsor children. We really have a need for that. And also just that people will continue to donate to our medical programs. This year we haven't had, normally we have teams of doctors and nurses, dentists and stuff that visit our countries. They're not able to do that. So continuing to fund the local medical programs like you've done is so important, and just pray for people to continue to partner with us.
Thanks, Uday.
Well, I'll go next because I have to concur with that. Prayer is so powerful at these times. I would just ask that you pray for our brothers and sisters in Mexico who are going through a much worse crisis than we are in the United States, and we think we have it bad. But so many of them now are unemployed. The majority of people in Mexico are unemployed with no money coming in. They need food. They need just the basic supplies. So anything that can happen along those lines would be great. Also pray that they can somehow get this COVID rate down enough to open up their businesses and get people back to work again, which is really number one important. And also to come back to church, to be able to open up the churches and see the churches flourish again. We would just ask for prayers along all those lines. And I hate to say the word money, but I'm very thankful for the continued support that all the churches are doing. So I would just ask that you continue that. And if you have any extra money at all, you could send in as an emergency. It will go immediately to our emergency relief fund. And we'll send that money down on a monthly basis so that the pastors down there and the congregations can continue to hand out food supplies, medicine, get people to hospitals through ambulance trips, and just really help those people that are really going through a very, very living hell right now in Mexico.
Jim, would we make those checks out to Fletcher Hills and just put a note that it goes to that ministry, or how do you suggest we do that?
That's fine, or you can go to our website. There's an address to send a check to directly to Baja Presbyterian Missions. And our website is bajapresbyterianmissions.org, and you'll see it right down there at the bottom. And there's an address to send a check to. Or you could also send it through FHPC if it's easier, and just donate or denote that on your,
okay.
Just put a note on that. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, maybe I'll jump in. And, just on the same note, and I expressed that before, prayer is the key, knowing that God is under control. But, I would love to continue on partnering with you guys as I we've been doing it for over probably 52 years. And so I will just say that if there is any need to partner where we could be of help to Fletcher Hills, to the things that you're doing within your community, the expertise that we have developed, and then the know-how that many of the people in the East County might need, that we could probably assist you, as we know that we have a good number of volunteers who had been coming to, since the Crisis Center to PUM, Presbyterian Urban Ministries, and even now with New Day, that they've been really the backbone of our ministry for over 20 years. And if we can get some of the things that we do to help you alleviate some of the workload or the needs of the people in El Cajon, all the East San Diego, all that area, if we can be of any help, please do not hesitate on calling. I know we always are looking sometimes to receive, but I think there's a time to give. And if we can give some of what we have learned and then utilize some of that know-how to enhance the lives of people, that, like I said, when you're homeless, you have nothing, you lose everything. You end up needing probably what you had today, tomorrow. And if we could be of any help, just don't hesitate on calling me and then trying to do and get something to work for that area, along with these great organizations that are helping already. And if we can team up and we can be effective for the long run, I'm all for that. I'm all for that. And of course, your prayers, again, for healing, and it goes for everyone, not only here in our communities, in our country, but also down in Mexico and Latin America and the rest of the world. And as we do that, I think God will continue to show the mercy that he has, the love that he has for all of us.
Thanks, Raul. Let's just go on to the last question, and we'll have an opportunity for some closing thoughts when we're done with this one. As you look into the new normal, and this question's going to go first to Uday, when you look into whatever the new normal is going to look like, and we know that that's not easy to predict, what kind of partnership do you want to see between us as FHPC and your organization? How can we be the best partners as we come out of this pandemic, whenever that happens? So Uday, you get this one first.
Yeah. We are so grateful for your current partnership. You guys, just working with you has just been such a blessing, and we're so happy for it. In terms of partnership, we just wish that you will continue to pray for our children and pray for our staff and people. We hope that you'll continue to support our medical teams, especially in Haiti. We wish that, if things become safe in Haiti, that we can't wait for a venture trip from your team down in Haiti. And if you have anyone in your congregation that's able to help us with disaster plans, we need a little bit of that. And sponsorship is always a big issue. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Uday. Who's next?
Well, I'll jump in. I think I'll add to it too. I mean, prayer and the partnership that we have, just to continue moving forward, regardless of anything that we're going through. And the drives you guys had before, with we always need are in big need of men's clothing. For some reason, we still are needing men's clothing more than anything, more than women's, children, or even food. We're more into the season of trying to get things together, as we are seeing now the number of clients coming back to the normal. Believe me, we got probably plenty of small size shoes and big size clothing, but our clients are always walking, always active. So anything which is 32, 30 through 36 size on either pants or underwear or large and medium shirts. We need a lot, mainly men's, and also shoes, any size over 10 to 14. We probably have one pair of each because we give them out every single day. They go out as they come in. So if you can keep that in your minds and of course your prayers, that would be great. Thank you. I know we're short in time. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Raul.
Thank you.
Well, I'll say something. I just wish, like we all did, I had a crystal ball and I could find out what was, what's next. I have no idea what's next in Mexico. My gut feeling says that we're going to lose some of our smaller churches. I hate to see the fact that a lot of the church building that we've been going along for many years very successfully is probably going to come to a standstill for a while we just continue in a survival mode to get the churches that we still have left going again, everybody back in the congregations, and just life as normal as it could be. So we would just ask for your continued prayers and support, and for being with us no matter what this new normal brings. I just don't know, but prayers are most important.
Great, Jim. Thank you.
Well, and also, I'm not even calling it the new normal. I'm calling it the new better. I'm a real Pollyanna, and I really think that our vision at the Good Shepherd Ministry Center is that it will become a true place of collaboration, this multicultural, multi-faith place. It's really not, it's not just Foothills. It's you, it's other churches, it's all of us coming together in one place. And I really see it blooming into something like that that's ours. I mean, even just today, hearing about your mission in Baja, and I'm thinking, I was texting Teresa, well, we have some money we've been setting aside for some Baja ministry. Hearing that Raul needs some clothes at New Day, we have a clothing closet that's overflowing with men's clothes. Just this idea that we can collaborate to share and be in ministry together is just so exciting to me. And so thanks for including us today. I see the future is really bright once we get through this.
Thanks, Susan.
I love that collaboration, Susan. Did I miss anybody on this question? Kent, I don't think I heard from you.
Well,
would you like to jump in there?
If you step up for a short-term need, I can turn that into a long-term really easy.
I hear you. It's going to take us a little while, but hopefully we will get there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're at about the top of the hour, so I'll just open this up for just any last words that our partners would like to leave us with, food for thought. Certainly, prayer has been a continuing theme here, and we definitely want to try to stay connected to each and every one of you so that we know what specific prayers we can offer on any given day. Raul, do you have any last thoughts? And then we'll just go quickly around and wrap it up.
I'll be pretty quickly. I think, the only thought that comes to my mind one more time is, learning to be still. I remember Psalm 46:10, says, "Be still and know that I am your God. I will be exalted among the nations, and I will be exalted all over the earth." And I think as we are still, and now as we're seeing God's hand on each and every one of our ministries, my thought is that we are really blessed, and that because we're blessed, we will be blessing others and will be the salt and the light of the earth. And that's basically what my thoughts are right now. Thanks.
Thank you, Raul. Who else?
Well, I'd just like to say that in hearing from all of you and hearing the needs in other nations around the world, I just feel really blessed to live here in this country. While every day is grief to me to what I see just around me, it's just nothing like it is in other countries. And just a few miles south of us, I just cannot believe what's going on down there. And I know in Haiti, it has to be just horrendous down there. So I just feel so blessed from that particular standpoint that I live in a wonderful country that's helping each other out, and the wonderful churches that all of us are a part of, that's just going out of their way any way that they can to support these ministries and our own people of our own congregation. So for that, I'm truly blessed.
Thank you, Jim.
I'm grateful for each one of you and for each one of you for answering the call to serve, and just thank you very much.
Kent or Uday, any last thoughts?
Just, our philosophy at COTN is very driven by James 1:27, which is, looking after orphans and the widows. In this difficult time, there's so many people around the world that need help. We are so grateful for FHPC's help, and it's good to be able to meet all the people that FHPC is working with.
Thanks, Uday. Kent, any last thoughts you'd like to share?
Other than right now I have 3 families on my waiting list that I'm trying to find places for, and IRC has 4 on their waiting list to give to us. So, but if you hear of anybody that is interested in hosting a family, please let us know.
So there is a waiting list, and there are still
Yes.
asylum seekers who need a place to live.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Let me just take 30 seconds and say to each one of you, thank you, thank you, thank you for being our partners. It is a joy. It is a huge blessing to work with each of you. And I'll just offer up a closing prayer quickly, and then we will call this a wrap. Heavenly Father, we thank you for being called into your work and into communities of work for the kingdom. And we thank you for bringing us as partners together, and we ask that you guide us in our individual pursuits and in the way we try to serve our community as a whole. We thank you for the blessings that you continue to pour into our community and into the ways we are able to serve. And we ask that that continues and that those blessings continue to flow throughout this pandemic and whatever the world might look like when it's over. In your Son's name we pray these things. Amen.
Amen.
Thanks, everybody. We really appreciate you being here, and God bless each and every one of you.